Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Look, we need to talk about something absolutely wild happening with the New York Mets right now. The front office is making moves that could completely transform this team, and honestly, most fans aren't even paying attention to what's brewing behind the scenes. What I'm about to break down for you is going to change how you view this entire offseason. So here's the situation. The Mets have been relatively quiet this winter compared to what everyone expected after their incredible playoff run last season. Sure, they made some moves. They brought in Marcus Semien, which was solid. They grabbed Devin Williams on what could turn out to be a really team-friendly deal if he returns to form. But let's be real here. They haven't made that blockbuster move that makes you stand up and say, okay, the Mets are all in. And I get it. After watching what the Yankees have done this offseason, which has been an absolute disaster, the Mets situation doesn't look nearly as bad. But that doesn't mean there isn't serious work left to do. The roster still has glaring weaknesses, and if David Stearns doesn't address them, this team isn't going to live up to the expectations that come with being a big market club in New York. Now, there's been a ton of buzz around Cody Bellinger. The insiders keep connecting him to the Mets, and honestly, I think there's legitimate smoke there. But that's not what I want to focus on today, because there's another name that's been floating around in trade discussions that would be an absolute game changer for this franchise. Let me set the stage for you. The Mets bullpen right now is a massive question mark. Yes, they added Devin Williams. Yes, they brought in Luke Weaver. On paper, those are decent additions. But here's the problem. Both of these guys showed some real vulnerabilities last season. Williams had an elevated ERA that should concern anyone paying attention. And Weaver, he was fantastic until he wasn't. That hamstring injury really derailed him, and when he came back, something was off. He started tipping his pitches, and by the time the playoffs rolled around, he was getting absolutely shelled. The Yankees clearly didn't trust him or Williams enough in high-leverage situations, which is exactly why they went out and traded for David Bednar. So the Mets are sitting here with a bullpen that has potential but also has some serious red flags. Edwin Diaz bolting to the Dodgers left a massive hole at the back end of that bullpen. They need someone they can count on in the ninth inning, someone who opposing hitters fear when they step into the box in a save situation. There aren't any elite closers left in free agency, which means if Stearns wants to upgrade, he has to look at the trade market. And that brings us to Mason Miller. This guy is an absolute monster. When the Padres acquired him from the Athletics, people thought they were set at closer for years to come. Miller posted a ridiculous ERA under 1 with San Diego last season. In 22 appearances, he struck out 45 batters and picked up 2 saves. Now he wasn't the primary closer because Robert Suarez was there, but everyone knew Miller was eventually going to take over that role. Here's what makes Miller so special. Only 4 qualified pitchers last season had an expected weighted on-base average against a .175 or lower. We're talking about Logan Gilbert, who's excellent, Garrett Crochet, who finished second in Cy Young voting, Graham Ashcraft, and Mason Miller. That's elite company. These are some of the most unhittable pitchers in all of baseball, and Miller is right there with them despite being a reliever. His slider is absolutely filthy. Hitters know it's coming, and they still can't touch it. He can throw that pitch in any count, and batters are basically helpless. On top of that, Miller sits in the top 10% of the league in both four-seam fastball velocity and spin rate. That combination of elite velocity, elite spin, and a devastating breaking ball makes him one of the most dominant relievers in the game. So naturally, the Mets would love to have him. Every team in baseball would love to have him. That's the problem. The Padres just traded significant assets to acquire Miller a few months ago. He's under team control for several more years. Robert Suarez is gone now, which means Miller is lined up to be their closer going forward. Why would San Diego turn around and trade him? According to sources close to the situation, the Padres are willing to have conversations about anyone on their roster. That's just how they operate. They're always listening. But listening and actually making a deal are two very different things. Most insiders believe Miller isn't going anywhere. It would take a massive overpay from the Mets to pry him away. And even then, it's hard to imagine the Padres pulling the trigger. But let's say hypothetically the Mets did find a way to make it happen. Let's say they put together a package that San Diego couldn't refuse. How would that change this team? Dramatically. You'd instantly have one of the best back ends of a bullpen in baseball. Miller closing games, Williams and Weaver in setup roles, A.J. Minter hopefully returning healthy. That's a formidable group. That's a bullpen that can shut down anybody in October. The reality, though, is that the Mets are probably going to roll with what they have. Devin Williams will likely be the closer. He's got the pedigree. He's got the stuff. The question is whether he can bounce back from a down year and rediscover the form that made him one of the most dominant relievers in baseball with the Brewers. If he does, and if Luke Weaver can stay healthy and avoid tipping his pitches, then suddenly this bullpen looks a lot better than people think. Brooks Raley should be a solid piece when he gets it going. A.J. Minter was excellent before his injury. Add in some of the younger arms, and there's depth here. But it's all contingent on guys performing at their best. There's no margin for error. If Williams struggles, if Weaver can't find his groove, this whole thing falls apart pretty quickly. That's what makes the Mason Miller situation so intriguing. He represents certainty. He's a guy you can pencil in for 35 to 40 saves without blinking. The Mets don't have that right now. They're banking on bounce backs and health, which is always risky. But unless they're willing to part with major prospects, Miller probably stays in San Diego, and the Mets will have to prove they made the right call with their current group. The offseason isn't over yet. David Stearns could still surprise us. Maybe he finds another arm on the trade market. Maybe someone unexpected becomes available. But as of right now, the bullpen is going to be a storyline all season long. Either these guys are going to step up and prove the doubters wrong, or the Mets are going to regret not being more aggressive in addressing this weakness.